Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to all of our participants who are watching us live on AWS User Group India YouTube channel. If you are watching this on demand, thank you so much for tuning us and supporting us for this entire series. We are back with our next week, which is the week number 3 and session number 4. So, you all know by now that we are going to have the series focusing on the security posture. What are the best practices? What are the things you need to do, you don't have to do when you're working or developing something on AWS? We have already done with our last 2 weeks, 3 sessions. All of those recordings are live now on AWS User Group YouTube channels. I'm again going to paste the link of that playlist. If you're watching this for the first time, I would request everyone, please go through those all the recordings, what we have done. The sessions are very interesting. And we are back with our another session today. And as we saw in our last session also, most of the people are very excited how to protect the data, what is Macie, the S3 controls. And we saw in the first sessions, most of the attacks have been basically done because of the less of securities around S3. And that's what is our agenda for today's session. Today's session will be talking about data protection using S3 control and Macie. And I have one of the interesting speakers. She's very renowned for this session. But before I get her live on the stage, let me quickly run through our sessions. Why are we doing this entire series? Who are the speakers, the community partners, and all before I get the speaker live on the stage. So, you all know we started this entire series, which is going to run for 4 to 6 weeks, started from March 11th. And this is our session number 4, week number 3. All of those recordings are going to be streamed live or already are available on-demand basis on AWS User Group India YouTube channel. So if you're watching it for the first time, don't worry, don't panic. All the recordings are there. You all know, as I mentioned, security has somewhere become a prime posture or a kind of a central of attraction because of the incident that have started taking place, the cybersec attacks and all. And most of what we have realized when the retrospective comes out, that it's a basic miss of security groups, open ports, S3 bucket policies that leads to this kinds of vulnerabilities, right? And that's where the whole agenda of our series is to learn from the basics foundation thing how we can improve our security postures, or what are the different frameworks available like shared responsibilities, well architect, and other kinds of good stuff. These are a wonderful lines of speakers. I think we have already heard from Shashank, as well as Aishwarya. We have one more speaker today, a new another phase who will be talking. She will be talking about the best practices about how to protect your data. The community partner standpoints, we have different community partners starting from AWS user groups, Nasik, Indore, Rajkot, and Dehradun. We also have other community partners from external collaborations, which is UPSC, CSA, CNCF Thane, as well as the DevOps community. When it comes to AWS user group, there are different channels like LinkedIn, Slack, Meetup, Twitter, Insta, and WhatsApp. You can subscribe us. The whole idea is that you need to be updated of different announcements of this bootcamp and other events what we are doing as a part of User Group Mumbai. With that, let me bring Disha on the stage. Disha is a technical trainer at AWS Amazon India, AWS India, which is Amazon Web Service. She's very renowned when it comes to giving her different talks for different other kinds of audiences, whether it's in customers or different user groups or communities, when it comes to what is Amazon Macie or Amazon S3 controls, talking about the data protections. So let me get Disha on the stage. Hey Disha, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Sancho. I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. And I really appreciate, I know it's not an easy because we chat offline. So I know how your busy schedules have been, how are you traveling for different states for your customers. And you took out the time from your busy schedule for the session. I really appreciate for all the effort what you are putting to spread the knowledge in our community. Thank you really so much for this.
Thank you so much, Sancho. Thank you.
With that, let me just bring up your screen. Your screen is live. Disha, over to you. Please go ahead.
Perfect. Folks, everyone, good morning. And I do welcome you all to the session of data protection leveraging AWS Macie and Amazon S3 controls. I think that's a weekend time now. We are going to jump into the weekend. So it's going to be a fruitful learning because according to me, we ought to, spend a lot of time, you know, working through entire week and so. And basically, on the weekend, we tend to spend time with ourselves, ensuring how we are able to grow. Technically, personally, professionally, different areas. We tend to spend that time over the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. So, trust it's going to be a great, live learning session. So, stay tuned. Right. So, folks, I will maybe, Sanchita has given a wonderful introduction, and I'll just take few minutes to, quickly introduce myself. So, folks, my name is Disha Babla, and I'm a technical trainer working with AWS India team. So basically, I work into different domains, talking about DevOps, security, all CI/CD, architecting, advanced architecting, analytics part, and others as well. So again, I'll not call myself an expert. I'll rather call myself a learner. So it's like we tend to learn every day something new. So I'm a learner, and I'll try to share my experience, my knowledge with all of you today. Although it's a very big topic, but we'll try to ensure like we have a gist of it, how it is working behind the scenes. So appreciate all of you joining in. Apart from that, folks, I'm reachable on my email. You can see it on the screen. And of course, I'm there available on LinkedIn as well. So, in case if you connect, I would love to connect with all of you. And I keep on sharing a lot of blogs, a lot of content, official content, of course. So, in case if you're connected, I think that will help you to have more knowledge on the other content and other topics as well. All right. So, folks, today's agenda is going to be about AWS Macie and the S3 controls. When I talk about security in AWS, security is said to be the topmost priority that we have at AWS. Basically, ensuring that data that is kept in the cloud, your infrastructure that is running inside the cloud, slowly and steadily, people they are tending to migrate right to the cloud, or the startups now these days they are born in the cloud. So basically, what's the first question that customer when I interact with them, they'll ask like, okay, Dasha, what about the protection, what about the data, don't you think it's in the cloud, that means something can get compromised or so. Folks, one thing, when I talk about the security, I'll always ask this to the customers, and of course I would like to know this from all of you as well. In case if you are keeping your data at your own, let's say, servers, or your own data centers, who is the one protecting your data? Is it the security guard? No, right? So basically, when we say that security posture, whether it's in data center or it's in the cloud, it's about the control. It's about to whom have you given the access. It's about ensuring that your data at rest and in transit is encrypted. It's also ensuring that god forbids, in case if your infrastructure, your architecture, if it gets compromised, my data is encrypted. And remember, the moment your data is encrypted, that becomes useless for a given hacker or a bad actor, right? Again, for different organization, this structure, this posture slightly changes, but however, as per the CIA triad, as per the CIA model, confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data is the key factor that we follow. Now, just taking a quick recap of what you have covered so far and what you're expected to know in this session, the agenda. Remember, folks, when I say security in and off the cloud, just because you are there in the cloud doesn't mean that you are, there's some kind of a magic that has happened. That's, I would say, just because you are there in the cloud doesn't mean that you are automatically secured, you are automatically highly available, you are cost optimized. Answer is no. It's about how you leverage the power that the services provide in AWS, right? It's about what are the best practices that you follow. I'll quickly, start this session, the agenda, with a good example. Folks, for example, let's say if I am, I'm looking forward for a house or a home on a rent. Now, I would reach out to the person who is the owner, and the owner will ensure that the house is having all the necessary assets for the security. For example, gate should be there. For example, gate should be locked. Basically, locks are there. There are proper, I would say, locks given in the wardrobe and other things as well. There's a proper fencing as well. Now, according to him or her, he has given or she has given all the necessary security assets that I'm expected to utilize it on time. Now, let's say the moment I've shifted to that house on rent, and one fine day, I just carelessly walk out of that home, keeping everything open, and the robbery takes place. Right? I cannot go and blame the tenant or the owner stating that, okay, now just because I'm there in your home, I'm on a rent, that means you are responsible for each and everything. That's what it makes the point that security of the cloud, it is taken care by AWS, and security inside the cloud, how you are maintaining the security, that is taken care by the customer. That means you, right? This is the shared responsibility model that you might have awareness about already. In case if you're new to it, remember white papers are there available. In case if you don't find the relevant content, just reach out to me. So when I say security of the cloud, folks, all the computing, storage, databases, the softwares that are given to you by AWS, that AWS will be responsible for. Apart from that, the global infrastructure of AWS. For example, when I say global infrastructure, just like any other data center, of course, AWS also has the data center, which consists of tons of servers. Right. Apart from that, ensuring that the AZs, the edge locations, they are having a proper protection. No any kind of not even we as an employees, we are able to access and straight away go and visit the data centers. No, these all kind of the security is taken care by AWS. When I say customers responsibility, remember the platform that you're going to use. Are you encrypting your data or no? What is going to be your network traffic protection, to whom you are giving access, which IP addresses you are giving access? That will absolutely becomes the customer's responsibility, folks. Now, this is a regular model which most of you will see. However, there is going to be a slight, I would say, fact that I'm going to tell about this to all of you. This model slightly changes depending upon which service you are using. In case if you are going towards the serverless architecture, that means when I say serverless, folks, it doesn't mean that we are not using servers. That means that server provisioning, patching, not compliance, but yeah, server patching and other requirements updates, that is taken care by AWS. Right? Whenever you make your solution more customized, the responsibility of the customer is going to increase, because you want the controls to be the way you want it to be, right? So in that case, customer responsibility will tend to increase. However, the more you're going towards the serverless architecture, for example, if I'm talking about AWS Lambda, for example, if I'm talking about, let's say, EKS, your Kubernetes clusters that are running, in case if I'm talking about ECS, RDS, S3, there you do not have to manage the underlying infrastructure, or you don't have to worry about provisioning, installing, configuration of the softwares. There technically AWS will be responsible. The moment AWS takes up the responsibility, your responsibility for maintenance of all this reduces. Right? So that was a quick gist of what you are expected to know, or what you are responsible for maintaining the security of your data, of your infra inside the AWS cloud. Now, today's agenda, folks, we will talk about how Macie works. I'm going to show you the demonstration as well. And we are going to talk about S3 control access. S3 is one of the widely used services for different use cases like data analytics, storing your data, using it for big data analytics, for the data transformation, for the migration as well. Right? S3 was used. So just a quick fact as well, once again. Okay. Folks, I hope all of you must be having the awareness about the Ukraine war. You can just type a yes or a no on the comment section. Folks, it's going to be a two-way interaction session. I want everyone to participate. You must be knowing about the Ukraine war, right? During that time, what happened? The utilization of the one of the very famous AWS devices, that is Snowball, it helped in migrating their data from their data centers, and it was actually moved and migrated to the cloud, where the first point of contact was S3. From that Snowball, those data was actually moved to S3. So despite of the data centers also being destructed, God forbid that doesn't happen anytime in the future with anyone, but their data was saved. So data these days, it is actually said to be the oil, the one which is the necessity, right? So that's the reason most of the companies, they tend to migrate their that big data to S3, because S3 has the tendency to literally support unlimited objects in one single S3 bucket, right? With 11 nines of durability, 99.999, when I'm counting, it is 11 nines of durability. Now, before I get started with understanding what Macie is all about, I have a very quick question for all of you. Folks, according to you, what is a sensitive data? I'm looking forward for your responses. What is the sensitive data according to you? When I say sensitive, I'm talking about the PII information. PII data. Okay, yes, credit card number, phone number, Aadhaar card, PAN card, these are all set to be addresses. Or let's say something that gives your personal information to the world. SSN, personal information, absolutely correct. These are all considered as a PII information. Yes, absolutely correct. So, in that case, folks, what happened initially, because I have been working in the data center before as well, what used to happen is companies, they used to create a ML model to identify that in case if this kind of an information is not available in their data of a given customer. For example, in case if you get yourself, a credit card, or your account is there in a bank or something, right? Or any financial institution. Mostly you will get such kind of a guideline stating that please do not tell or upload any such information over the site, stating this information can get exposed over the internet, and possibly, our data, our, I would say, the account information can get leaked. So initially in the data centers, companies literally used to run, the scanning of whether this kind of a data is available or no. And that again, since that was a big data, the scanning wasn't that regular that we expect it to be. Apart from that, scanning that big data used to be such an expensive solution, because it's not a batches that we are running, right? It has to go through the entire scanning of that data, right? Now, for you, this is all, like example, the medical record. Let's say if I'm talking about the healthcare industries, patient's record, medical records, these are all the personal information that we are not expecting anyone to, showcase to the world. That is the reason, that's what we say, that these are the key drivers. So basically, organizations that are continuing to maintain this kind of a PII data, not only for the customers but for their own organization as well. For example, employee ID, data privacy becomes a very much, I would say, key factor. So when I say I have to analyze this, I am also talking about monitoring of this data and the control. In case if it is accidentally uploaded, then what will be the key factors, or what are going to be the automated action that will take into the picture? So for this, companies maintain a kind of a regex pattern as well. Just another example for all of you, these are all the PII information. For some companies, let's say, just an example, hello might be a PII information, or employee ID, or let's say, in case if you are giving your phone number, that can be a personal information. Apart from that, let's say if I'm talking about Australia. Folks, for Australia, the driver's license is also considered as a PII information. So different countries, different organization, these all data can vary, slightly vary. That's where Macie was introduced to identify, discover, and protect your sensitive data at scale. Remember, when I say we migrate to the cloud, scalability is one of the key factors at a scale. So basically, Macie is something which is a fully managed service. You do not have to actually go and configure it, right? Two things are required, folks, from your end. Number one, you just have to go and enable it. Second, you have to define that what is going to be your the sensitive data or the PI information for you. The predefined, you will see the pattern that is already there. For example, all the example that you have given, personal information, credit card, all these, they are already there. The moment you enable it, Macie is going to scan your that data. Second, it will actually have a bifurcation breakup of these are the finances personal information, these are the individual's personal information, and so on. It has that category. It will not showcase the data. It will tell you that this is going to be the count. This is what I have discovered. Possibly, let's say if you want to export that data for a further findings, also that also can be done. So it will give you a detail of all that data. However, the customization can be done at your end, right? For example, I've given you another, just a hello keyword as well. So for that, you can create such regex patterns, right? Now, remember, folks, right now, you might think you're having one account, one AWS account. However, organization, big fours or big organizations, they are not having one or two, but they are having multiple AWS accounts. So Macie, it works in conjunctions with AWS organization. That means not just one, but for multiple AWS accounts also, Macie will be able to support that scanning against S3 bucket. So currently, Macie is going to support the security control or telling you and discovering the the sensitive data against S3 bucket. In case if you're thinking that, okay, Disha, can I use it against any kind of other database or so, like RDS, DynamoDB? Currently, directly using it against these databases, the answer is no. However, there are some blogs where the possibility of the integration of utilizing it with RDS is possible. For example, in that case, you have to move or transform your that data from RDS to S3. There are certain blogs given on AWS, white papers in the sites as well. You can go and have a look. That can be done, but ultimately it is only working against the S3 bucket for now. Now, when I say centrally manage the data at scale, this is what I was talking about. So for your GDPR, PCI DSS, CCPA, HIPAA compliance, we are using it. And I think all of you have answered it very much to the point that, okay, Disha, this is what is the data, PII data for us. And technically, folks, we call it as a data identifiers. For example, in the case of finance, we have card, bank account numbers. Personal, it can be name, address, contacts. National, like passport ID, driver license. For medical, it can be healthcare or the patient's record. And credentials and secrets. When I say credentials and secrets in terms of AWS, I'm talking about your AWS username, password. First of all, we'll not expect you to utilize the root account for your everyday or day-to-day activities. We'll rather recommend you to utilize an IAM user, to which you can limit the access by providing them or getting started with the least privilege policy. So, in case if you are encrypting the data, you're encrypting the data and you're using the keys to encrypt that data, you want that these keys also should not be uploaded on, let's say, S3 or any of your these kind of a VCS system. You can utilize Macie for that. So these are some examples. You can absolutely go and customize them, right? Now, apart from that, folks, remember we have certain formats that are available for which your this data will be analyzed. So whatever this deep inspection that we are doing in terms of Macie, again, these are all the supported file and the storage formats available. Again, I'm not expecting you to remember them. Documentation is of course available, but these are the possible, which covers almost quite a amount of storage formats. We have it for Apache data, like Apache Avro object containers. We have it for compression, document, text. Also, folks, to keep this in mind, in case if your data is encrypted in S3, by giving the permission, your Macie will also be able to scan or analyze that encrypted data as well. But however, you have to go and give the permissions in that case. That's one thing. Now, how it works, basically, folks, as I've stated, you have to go and enable it. Again, it's having a region dependency. So for whichever region you want that your Macie needs to be enabled, you can do that. One more fact. Folks, when I talk about the pricing, I'll be covering the pricing also in few minutes. Remember, in case if you're using a free tier account, Macie is available free of cost for 30 days. For the free tier account, there you'll be able to find lot many services which are available for a good number of hours. However, some services are available on the basis of enablement or days. So Macie, what you can do, it is available for 30 days of an enablement. You can go enable it, utilize it, and if you're not using it, disable it. So this 30 days you can utilize for the entire 1 year of a time whenever where you want to use it. Right? Apart from that, the moment you have enabled it, it will continuously analyze the S3 environment, like for which bucket you are analyzing. The moment any PII information was discovered, it will be able to generate the findings. When I say generate the findings, the entire information you will be able to see it on the screen. And in case if you want to take possible action, just an example, let's say if I want to have an integration with the CloudWatch events, right? In that case, you can take up the finding. For example, any kind of such findings or any kind of such data is there, I want to go and delete it. Or I want that I should get notified the moment any PI information is available. So I can go and integrate this with the help of CloudWatch events. I want to get notified over email or over text messages. That can be done. So that's one example. However, possible integration with other services is always there, which you can utilize to a great extent. Now, before I get started with the use case, I hope all of you are ready and up for a demo. A quick yes is going to help. Yes? Now, before folks, I actually go and create a bucket and enable the Macie. Basically, in my case, I've already enabled the Macie. This is some sample data that I have given. I'll quickly just zoom in this information. According to you, what is the sensitive data? You can put your responses on the chat. As per the data, this is a simple sample data that I'm showing to you. According to you, what is the sensitive data? Phone number, okay. Addresses, email, okay. What else? Credit card, CVC, most of the columns. So, folks, I mean, see, the point here comes is for most of you, the PII information, according to you, slightly changed. For me, if you are asking, I would say all of the information is sensitive. For some of you, it might be just IDs. Some of you, it might be just birth date, name, address. So, see, understand this for the given audience. Also, this can slightly vary. This data, this customer bank data, I'm going to upload to the one of the S3 buckets. I'm going to create one, and then we are going to run Macie and get the results. Right? So I'll quickly right now minimize this and we'll now get started with the console. I'll go and search for S3. Also, folks, for all those who are very new to it, you have a feasibility where you can go and create a free tier account. I'll also share some free resources with all of you. In case if you want to have an understanding of the fundamental level of an information about security, big data, artificial intelligence, whatever it is, you can go through that depending upon your vertical, right? So, folks, although I have like around, okay, I have 98 buckets, wonderful. So if I click on create a bucket, I'm going to create a bucket with the name of AWS user group Mumbai, and I'm going to put today's date. What's the date today? It's 25th of March. 25th March. And I'm going and creating this in Northern Virginia. Right. Rest all, I'm going to keep it as it is because we are right now focusing on only the Macie part. Right. This I've created. Now what I'll do, I'm going to go and upload this data, this customer bank data, which I've shown to all of you. Right, these are some of the recent one. Yeah, this is the customer bank data that I was showing to all of you. I'm going to simply go and upload this file. Now, remember folks, in case if you're keeping it on a regular server or so, basically companies initially used to go and design such kind of a applications or software which will keep on scanning for such kind of an information. I have done that. I can see the customer bank data file here. Now what I'll do, I'll simply go and search for Macie. Also, folks, for Macie, if you see no any server is required, no any, I would say, configuration is required. It is simple that you have to go and create a job, right? So just like this, you'll be able, let's say if you're new to it, folks, remember you have to go and enable it. That step I have skipped because I have already enabled it, right? So for example, if I'm going and searching for AWS, just a moment. Yep, this is the one that we have created. User group Mumbai, 25th of March. I'm going to select this bucket. I'll go ahead with next, right? You will get a cost estimation as well. Right now, I'm under a free tier. Apart from that, we have the feasibility of data as well, how much data it will be able to scan. Post that, you will have the charges. The estimation right now is 0, right? I'll go ahead with this next. Now, remember, in case if you want to refine the scope, for example, I want to have a scheduled job, whether I want to go and have it on a daily basis or weekly basis or monthly basis. Number two, What should be the sampling depth? For example, do you want to go and scan your entire data, 100% of the data, in one go, or you want to have a kind of a batch operations? For example, if I'm putting here as like, let's say 25%, 25%, right? If I'm going and putting it as 25, 3% or 4%, so as per the batch jobs, it is going to have the analysis of that data accordingly. Also, since we are doing a demo right now, I'm just simply going to use a one time job. Like, entire data, I want to scan it right away. I'll proceed ahead with the next. Now, these are the data identifier option. What are the areas that you want to include? What is the data identifier that you want to exclude? Do you want to focus on only one specific data? For example, for some of you as a data team, you might have only employee ID as a sensitive data requirement or a verification. For some of you, for the financial institution or CFM teams, it might be just, let's say, the credit card information or the bank account information. Depends. So you want to include or exclude, that information can be given here. Right now, I'm using all. I want everything, whatever is the category, should be the data identifier option. Perfect. Customize. As I've stated, predefined are always there. However, let's say if you want to have a customization. For example, my hello keyword, it is sensitive information according to me. Gender information, male, female, transgender, that also can be a information. So custom data identifier you can create, of course, from here itself, right? You have to go and define the pattern in that case. Define the pattern. So what will be your regular expression? What are going to be the keywords? Do you want to ignore certain keywords? All that information can be given from here. So I'll just go back here. So I hope this was pretty much clear with all of you. From here, you can go and create the data identifier custom one, and you can quickly go and have a quick test also done, evaluate as well whether it's refining your that operations or no. Perfect. Go ahead with next. Allow option. Now, any specific text or pattern that you want to ignore or allow, so that can be chosen. So for example, for the custom data identifier, you want to specifically choose any allow list or so, that can be done. Right now I'm just keeping it very simple. General settings, so I'll just name it as, let's say this is AWS user group Mumbai. I would say Macie job. Right, any description, let's say this is a test demo that we are running for now. Any tags or so, you can of course go and add them. Perfect. Right. Okay, I think this I'll quickly go and remove. I'll just add 100% I want to go and include. Perfect. It's 100% sampling depth. Perfect. Remember folks, override this requirement. This says that after 90 days, it is going to go and delete it. Delete the findings. If you do not want to do it, you can simply go and uncheck that option and simply go and submit it. Right now, if you see the job, the status says it is in an active running state, so we have to wait for another 5 to 7 minutes of a time. By the time we are continuing with the next discussion, we'll let this job be running and we'll come back on this. Right, so right now if you see, this is running actually for this job. So similarly, I have it for others as well, but I'll just quickly, I'm showing this live to all of you. Let this job be running, we'll come back to this one. Right now, going back to this one, the use cases. Folks, what according to you can be the possible use cases for Macie? I think we have already discussed that, but some add-ons which you can think. Yes. What can be the possible use cases of Macie? I think one biggest use case is of identifying the PI information, which itself is a very much big use case. Compliance, absolutely correct. Bank information, absolutely correct. Financial data, yes. I will agree with all of you. So, folks, accessing your data, ensuring that you are having your data kept very much private, there are many organizations which are using Macie. So, Macie customers, you'll be able to find it from the site itself, that what are the possible Macie customers and how they are integrating that in their given architecture. Right. So basically, for the compliance, I think most of you have answered. Data retention, yes, you'll have an idea of what were the findings. That data you can retain, but let's say there are possibly some data which you do not want should be there in S3. That action I can take accordingly, right? PCI data, absolutely correct, right? So identifying this information. So for example, I want to before like let's say the moment you have migrated, migration is one of the big factors why people are migrating these days, because not just to save the cost or ensuring they are highly available, having the protection and using the feasibility of these kind of a softwares or application have become a very wide use cases these days. Wonderful use case has been given. USA military goes into mission outside USA, all information of US military must be secured, absolutely correct. So folks, especially when we are talking about the government use cases, these kind of information are very widely used, especially for the finances, especially for the government use cases. Government, US government, India, they are using such kind of an integration or architecture to ensure that customers or the audience's data is very much secured. That's point number one. Now, talking about the pricing, very important. Disha, what's the price? How will I get charged? I've already given a few gist of it. Remember, 30 days of a free trial is available, folks. Also, this also includes 1 GB of a data processing. For example, the 1 GB of data is not bound for your 30 days of the scanning. So let's say if you have enabled it, let's say you that 30 days period has expired or you have utilized it already. Beyond that also, if you are under the 1 GB limit, this will become free of cost to you. So that's a good news, right? Even though if you have just cross that limit of 30 days of a free trial, still under 1 GB, you can go and process or analyze your that data, right? This is how the pricing sheet looks like. Remember, folks, the pricing details, it will vary from region to region. So this is something that I'll not expect you to remember. Pricing sheet is available. You can go and have a look in which region you are running the Macie job against which history bucket. So for fun, first GB, initial first GB, it is going to be free of cost. And then as you keep on utilizing it, per month basis, you'll be able to get your pricing, details on per GB basis per month. Also, folks, remember, in AWS, we have this wonderful policy. The more you are going to use, the less you are going to pay. So when I say this, the more you are going to use, that means I'm talking about at a certain batch. Let's say if it is over 500k GB, per GB pricing after that quota or after that batch, it is going to be reduced. So this is applicable for many of the other services as well. The more you use after a certain batch or after a certain quota, the pricing for that is going to reduce. Right? We'll quickly go and have a check from here in case if this job has been completed. It's still running, so we'll wait. I'm taking a pause here. Anyone who has any doubts, any questions, any comments on Macie before we proceed ahead with the next part of the session. A quick thumbs up, yes, no. Are you all able to absorb the content well? Okay, so we have a question stating that what is a sampling depth? Folks, when I say sampling depth, for example, right now I'm actually able to scan 100% of the data. When I say sampling depth, you can define the in percentage. See, because companies, they don't have data in 1 or 2 GBs. They will have data in exabytes and petabytes. So having a scan of entire data is not possible on that very moment for getting the results. So in that case, I can define the batches that my depth, my sampling depth is going to be, let's say 2% or 5% or 50%. So for now, at a time, I want only 50% of the data needs to be scanned. So in that case, for the sampling depth, you can go and define like what should be your batch percentage that you want should be scanned or analyzed for the given information. I hope that answers the question, Prasanna. Right now, since the data is very less, I have decided the sampling depth as 100%. Sounds good? Perfect. Now, okay, let's See, another question says, well, can Macy consolidate the finding across various regions and report one central location, or does it have to be enabled? Okay, so Rohan, this is enabled region wise. However, it can be consolidated. Let's say if you're using multiple AWS accounts. In the case of AWS organization, so you can have an integration with organizations where the consolidation of all the results or the findings can be exported to one centralized bucket. But remember, integration needs to be done with the organization or with the services like the control tower. In case if one single account you are talking about, in that case it is having a regional scope. Like right now I'm running this one only in Northern Virginia, that too for a specific bucket. You can consolidate across the AWS account across multiple regions by conjuncting them with the organizations. I hope that answers your query. Yes, perfect, wonderful. Right. So I'll quickly just go to the findings part as well, and we'll let this job be running. Perfect. So it has started creating the findings. Folks, if you check the sensitivity level, remember for many of the AWS services, you will find different severity level, sorry, not sensitivity, severity level, that is differentiated in high, medium, and low, right? So in that case, right now, see, if you see the severity level is high. Okay, perfect. I'll quickly go and have a check, and these are all the results. At the right hand side, if you see, it will talk about the overview like region, what is the account ID, what is the object like the resource, when was it created, when was it uploaded or updated, right? Now, here if you see, it is talking about the sensitive data. The total count is 67. What it is? It says financial information, credit card number, the keyword is 29. Similarly, there are 26 personal information talking about the addresses and the name. Which resource is actually affected, which is the bucket? Apart from that, is that bucket public or no? In case if it is public, in that bucket also which resource are affected, which is the specific object. So in that case, I can integrate this with CloudWatch events to get the data deleted or get the data encrypted or whatever you want to design your architecture accordingly. So when I say Macie is able to identify that, it will not straight away go and showcase you the data. Okay, that this is the data which is sensitive. It will give you the information, the detail about it. That was quick example, folks. You're able to get the findings. Right now, we are under this severity level that is high. I hope that was interesting. Although if anyone who is right now, the security engineer or someone from the compliance team in your organization, we have a lot of other information available, other features are also there that of course you can go and have a look. But I think in case if you have been working on and analyzing such information or creating such kind of a tool to help you maintain that servers or so, also that you have been doing it till now, this kind of a tool is going to help you. Right, wonderful. Now folks, getting started with the S3 access control. Giving a quick information of what S3 is. It's an object level storage which is very widely known for the durability that it provides. Right? Data availability, data durability, security control, your data at rest, everything. There are lot many wide features available for S3. Right? Now, when I say S3, any data or any object that you are storing in S3, according to you, what are the security, I would say, best practices that you follow, or how do you protect your data in S3? Anyone? Some of you might think on, okay, Disha, I actually go and create IAM policies. We try to limit the access to anyone for the S3 by, defining the IAM policies. Some of you might say, I might utilize, ACL. Very wonderful answer given. Enabling versioning and MFA delete. Absolutely correct. Implement server side encryption. RBAC. Okay, I think we are much going into the e-case now as well. Kubernetes, our back we have. Enabling versioning and MFA delete. When I say this feature, that means data cannot be accidentally deleted in case if you have enabled it. Second, companies also use this kind of a security feature that you will not be able to access the data until you do not go and provide your MFA code. Object lock, encrypting the data, IAM policies, ACL, limited access using to the security based policies. Wonderful. I think you have a very good awareness. So being very specific, folks, with the the security for S3 access control, we'll get started with the S3 access control list, ACL. What is an ACL? Basically, when I say ACL, I'm trying to talk about only granting access to specific objects which are there defined in the S3. Currently, your ACLs are written in the XML formats. Apart from that, this has predefined groups like all users or any authenticated user. Let's say currently, if you're having 5,000 users in your IAM users, you have created 5,000 users as account. You want to give access to only the specific person or a specific user. And that also you want to define the permission. For example, out of 5,000, I'm giving access to only first 10 people, or let's say 10 people. That to read only permission. Even more granular, if you want, I want to give access only for a specific object. Now, adding on to this, folks, when I say that IAM policy is also able to restrict the access, similarly, ACL is also able to restrict the access. What is the difference then? Anyone who would like to take a guess, what is the difference between ACL and your IAM policies? Anyone? In case, this I'm specially asking for all those who have been working or have started working on S3 and the IAM part. Okay, ACL is at a network level. Wonderful. What else? Can I apply an IAM policy at a specific object level? Anyone? Okay. ACL can be set for individual objects, while IAM permission can only be granted at a bucket level or higher. Absolutely correct. So, folks, when we are actually talking about this, I want more granular permissions at an object level and that too at an action. For example, in case if I want to have the permission, like out in my bucket, I'm having 100, I would say, objects. That also, I want to give a person read only access for a specific object. Let's say object number one. That kind of a granularity you get for S3 ACLs. When I say IAM policies, you get a more higher level, like talking about, 10,000 above the feet. You're able to see a higher level of an access. Apart from that, does ACL help control the permission? So, Prasanna, this is something which comes in the conjunction of IAM policies. So, for that, I can utilize the permission policies, permission boundary, and I can go and create the delegate administrator. That's a different concept about IAM altogether. That comes under the IAM part, not the ACL. So, that's point number one, right? So, I have finite set of permission which are compared to policies: read ACP, write ACP, access control policy, full control, that I can actually go and define from here. S3 access control list. Perfect. Yep. Now, preferably use bucket policy versus bucket ACL. Bucket policies, IAM, I'm talking about at a bucket level. So ACL I can use at a bucket level also, at a action level also, at a object level as well. Conditional ACLs are also there. That's point number one, right? So for example, if I quickly take you to the console, if I'm going and searching for S3 again, right? Perfect. I'll quickly go to this bucket, the one which we have created, right? Now, remember, folks, I think some of you have answered it already. I'll come back to this part as well. Now, here in this way, basically, we know we have different use cases for given S3 for the batch operations, for others as well. However, this is what I was talking about. Bucket owner, like you will be the one who will be able to define the permission. However, do you want to have an authentication of this part for other for the other AWS accounts as well? Remember, organizations who are using the multi account pattern, this is one of the security concerns that they have. Granularly, this is something I can define it here at a ACL level. That's one part. Now, another feature, or I would say the important feature that I want you all to take a note of it, in case if you are creating some notes for this session. However, for the recorded, of course, you can go and have a recap. Now, very important in terms of security, folks, that we have is server access logging. Anyone who would like to, I know I've already shown the console, but what do you think this server access logging is going to do? Anyone would like to take a guess? Wrong answers are even more welcome. We'll get an idea like, okay, this is what I was not knowing. Now I have a clear understanding of this portion. Store logs, okay, of access level. Wonderful. Folks, when I say access, forget about S3, forget about EC2, forget about anything right now in AWS. Just focus on the term keyword server. When I say server, I want to access that server. Access means what is the time, what is the API call that I'm making. After accessing the server, am I creating the resources? Am I deleting the resources? Am I making changes to that server, configuration part, software, whatever it is? Accessing that server. This accessing at what time, timestamp, basically also is very important in terms of security posture. Now, when I say, folks, this S3 bucket was accessed, how will you get to know? Most of you will say, Disha, CloudTrail is there. I can go and have a look at API call. Wonderful. Absolutely correct answer. But again, I'm being very specific for S3 at a granular level. What can I do? I can actually go and edit this, and I would be like, I want to enable this option that whosoever is accessing my this S3 bucket, whatever API calls are being made, I want to go and log that information into an S3 bucket. Now, for this one, folks, when I'm talking about the best practices, what we recommend, absolutely, Prasanna, this can also be done by using the CloudTrail. Since again, in the CloudTrail, it's not just one service, right? We might have different other, we are having more than 200 services with so many other resources which are running. Some companies, if I'm talking about, they're having more than 6 lakh, 10 lakh servers that are running in AWS account. So possibly it's like I'm taking one part of it and I'm actually showing it on the console itself. Similarly, the way we have here, we have the RDS, insights monitoring as well. I'm being very specific, like over one that console, I'm able to see all the information. So you can do it in the CloudTrail, but again, search option will increase. Here we are doing at a S3 level. So I've taken that part and I've enabled it or I'm utilizing it here. Coming back to the point, folks, when I'm talking about the best practice, always remember we recommend you to have the service access logging enabled and store your these logs in a separate bucket. There are two reasons. Number one, you can choose the same bucket and have your logs saved in the same bucket. However, why separate bucket? Because since you are storing the logs, it will have charges per GB, storage charges will be there applicable on S3, right? Second, the event that it creates, the logging information, the moment that information is being logged in the same bucket, technically it will impact your pricing part. The pricing will increase because number one, it's going to store your that logs. Number two, it will generate additional logs. So pricing is going to be increased. Again, that is the best practice. However, you can store it in the same bucket as well. Now, what I'll do, I'll simply go back and I'm going to create a bucket for this server access logging. For example, this is AWS user group for my server access logs, which is created on, let's say, 25th of March, 23. Simple. I'll just click on create a bucket, right? Now I'll go back and I'm going to go to the properties part and I will go and enable this option, but on a separate S3 bucket. So what I'll do, I'll go and browse for S3. And if I'm searching for user group Mumbai, yep, here we go. User group server access log 25th of March 23. Perfect. Save the changes. Right now, what I'll do, I'll simply go and I'll just say I am just going to upload some other data as well. So I'm going to add some other files. For example, let me see if I have something nice. I'm having some, this conjunction of talking about the shared responsibility model for different, services. I've uploaded this file. Take few seconds. Perfect. It has been uploaded. So I'm now having two data. One is the customer bank data. One is the screenshot. If I go back right now and check again, since this has happened right away, it will take some time to log the data. So I would say it is not available in the real time, it is available in the near real time. So this data to be populated, these logs to be populated in your this bucket, it will take few seconds to few minutes of a time. So we'll wait here as well and we'll come back on this part again and we'll go and have a check on what are the logs that are generated, right? It will take some time. So we'll come back on this part. So that's one part of it. ACL we have discussed. We also spoke about the server access logging. Now, another part is pre-signed URL. Very important whenever we are taking different use cases of S3. Now, folks, I hope all of you have the awareness that by default, S3 will have a private model. All the S3 objects in an S3 bucket, they are private. Only the object owner has the permission to access them, right? So anyone, basically, let's say if you want like, okay, this data needs to be accessible to everyone in the world. So for example, we have the use cases of Pinterest or any of your pictures, videos, which you want everyone across the world should be able to access simply. You can go to the S3 bucket and you can simply go and uncheck this option. Block all the public access. That can be done. Now, here in this case, what will happen? Technically, these objects will be accessible to the entire world. When I say pre-signed URL, basically what is happening, I want that this URL should be accessible to public, but only for a specific amount of time, specific period of time. If I'm giving you all a use case, for example, you might have seen different e-commerce sites. If I'm taking one example of, let's say Amazon Prime, we have others as well. You will see especially on the Black Friday sale or Cyber Mondays, there are many coupons that are there. And you will see a timer window, that is running stating that, okay, this coupon is applicable or accessible for next 24 hours, 23, and so on, right? After that much amount of time, basically, it will not be working, or basically that data or that content will not be accessible. So for example, let's say if you have, that was one coupon example, if you have any kind of a video in your bucket and both the bucket and the objects are private, so you can share the video with other people, generating a pre-signed URL. Whosoever has the URL will be able to utilize for that specific amount of or period of time. That's an example of a pre-signed URL. Right? So this is kind of a security credential, or that can be applicable for a bucket or for a specific object key, which comes with the expiry date and time. Right? Okay, I'll still go back and refresh. It will take time. It will take, of course, time. So we'll wait. Right? So all your get put operations, the request basically accessing for a given a pre-signed URL, you can utilize for different use cases. Like one I've given for the coupon. Similarly, you can use it for video or a specific content that you want should be accessible only for a specific period of time. Now, right? So anyone with the URL can perform the action, the permissions that you have defined, read, write, whatever it is. Another part of it, folks, talking about VPC endpoint. Now, remember, folks, what happens here is basically whenever this is something that talks about the VPC security, where you might have heard about public subnets, private subnet, recommended practices that you keep your resources which you should not want have direct access over the internet in the private subnet, and you try to give access via the NAT gateway which you place it in a public subnet. This is a common architecture where we allocate either the public IP, or the for EC2 instances you utilize the public IP or the internet gateway, and for the private IP addresses we are utilizing the NAT. However, in case if I want direct access by providing a private link, by providing a private endpoint without using these additional assets or resources like NAT instances or gateway, I can utilize VPC endpoint. So in case if you're comparing the architecture, I'll quickly show you the diagram as well. Okay. Yep. Right here, if you see, these are the additional assets that have been added. I'm not saying you cannot use it, but for many such resources, VPC endpoints is considered as a very good very good practice for the users, right? So I can access my these resources S3 using an S3 private endpoint without using these devices. Second, if I want to restrict the access of S3 bucket from outside the VPC. So let's say I want the conjunction of my architecture, I'm able to access my these resources only within the VPC. Internet exposure is not there. So I can use the VPC endpoint, right? Before I take up more on these parts, I'll quickly take up the questions that are there on the chat. Does Macie uses ML techniques behind the scenes? Answer is yes. So basically, this is constructed again on a machine learning model also. That's what I stated. Basically, for these kind of a requirements, these kind of a use cases, we are actually going and training our model accordingly, which is already created here. So that time, that efforts, that is being saved. And technically, that helps you to save the labor cost as well. Rather than my team focusing on designing such kind of a model, I can go and look into the application optimization. I can go and look into the customer tickets. I can probably improve their experience of the application that they're using, and how the new signatures of best practices are applied or updated. So okay, I'm just want you to elaborate on this part. Are you talking only in terms of Macie or other services, the signatures? If it is in terms of Macie, basically what you can do, let's say if you want that your data in transit needs to be encrypted by utilizing any kind of a hashing, you can integrate that by using the ACM, Amazon Certificate Manager, right? Where you can go and import your own certificate along with the signatures, or you can take or purchase the certificate from Amazon as well. I hope that answers the question. Yes, perfect. Apart from, yes, for the Macie only, perfect. Apart from that, okay, Arun is asking, so is the pre-signed URL is just like time access for end user as and when required? Yes, it's basically we are setting up a timer, like whosoever has this specific URL, I can go and have a control on the access as well. But I want to bound it only for specific IP addresses, that can be done. So it's like a kind of a setting a timer for exposing, or for, let's say, giving the content to the end user. Okay. So Prasanna, your Macie can run both against unencrypted data also, against encrypted data as well. In that case, you have to go and define the permission. Let's say if your data which is kept in the S3 bucket is encrypted, and for that, let's say you're using KMS, key management service, for encrypting the data. So technically, behind the scenes, it will give the permission as well, and it can run against both unencrypted and encrypted data. I think that point I've taken in the little bit start as well. Folks, let the more questions be coming in. Right, I'll quickly go and have a check on this, whether it has started logging this information or no. It is enabled. Also, folks, apart from that, there are some other cloud trail data events also that you can enable. So basically, in that case, you have to go and enable and configure your cloud trail to send you the data events about reads and the writes. Right, that's one part of it. I'm, however, just very keenly waiting for this to get updated. So that's now, let's say this is another example of restricting access to a specific bucket. Take a moment, go through this policy, what it says. Absolutely. I think the question that is being asked, can Macie accept custom rules for PII data detection? Absolutely. That will come under the custom data identifier. When we were creating it, that you must have seen. Custom data identifier and what should be the action calls that you want to make it. Can be done. Predefined is there, customization, of course, it is always given for the customer. So, folks, when we are looking into it, if I want to, let's say you are having 10 buckets, you want to restrict access for only one specific bucket. Let's say that is containing of any of your important information, or someone, employee should not have access to it, or anyone should not have access to it. So, for that, of course, I can go and create a bucket specific policy, access to a specific bucket, or I can explicitly also say that out of all I want to go and utilize all the other buckets but except this. Again, folks, I know this is not an IAM session. However, in case if you're practicing on this part, also remember we have some advanced we have some advanced IAM options or policies as well. IAM advanced elements as well, sorry. In that case, what can happen? For this one, I have a quick question for all of you. Folks, just say an example. For your architecture, you are using 100 services. 100 services, right? And let's say you have a team of 5 people, right? Now, my question to all of you is, or my requirement for all of you here is, I want that my team should have access to these 99, I would say, not services, but 90 100 resources are there which are using these services, right? I want that these people or my team should have access to 99 resources out of 100. In case if you are new to writing IAM policy, what will be your approach? Effect, I will say effect should be allow. Do you think you will go and mention these 99 resources line by line? This is especially for all the developers, all the coders. Anyone? Not at the start. Okay, we may start with the full access. Now that's the point, folks. Always remember, do not start with giving all the permission and then going slowly and steadily you go and restrict the permission. Never ever do that. As a best practice, we always recommend our customers to get started with the least permission. If you're having 5 users, first of all, see as per their given job role what should be the right permission set that should be given for a specific resource. Point number one. Second, in the future, of course, you can go and add more permissions. Let's say out of 100 resources you want to give access only to 99. In case if you are new to it, this is how you'll get started by, okay, I'm saying allow for all these. So I'll mention the list of 99. 100th one I'll not mention because that permission I do not want them to give. In that case, what you can say, I can say allow all. However, I can put the utilization of the advanced IAM options elements by giving an action of not resource. Not resource. When I say not resource means I'm saying accept this. Accept this one resource, I want to give permission to all of them. So you know what can happen? I can, in the resource, I can say all. I can put the star by stating all the permission for 100 services, 100 resources, for example. However, in the case of this not resource, I can put the accept condition. These are known as the conditional IAM templates. Not resource. Similarly, we have not, I would say action, we have not principle as well. I know that's going into very much dive deep. In case if you're working on these points, folks, you can take a note of it. Not resource, not action, not principle. I hope this point was clear with all of you. Next. Next is the S3 access point. When I say, folks, S3 access point, that means I'm talking about a specific resource or specific, I would say, a bucket in account for different teams bifurcation. Let's say if you're having different accounts, different S3 bucket in a given account, and for that, for certain folders or certain data, you want to restrict or give access only to a specific team. So for the decentralized team or the data lakes, for the cross-account data exchange as well, let's say all these buckets, they are belonging to different AWS accounts, different AWS accounts, account number one, account number two, account number three. That can be done by using the S3 access points. So that's one point, right? So folks, again, till now, this is what we have discovered, that this is what we were able to learn. Again, remember, this is a very wide topic. As you get started with understanding individually every topics, along with the practice, it will take time. So invest your time, invest your own sweet time, learn at your own pace. Don't need to rush up. All right. So again, I'm just hoping, my fingers crossed, this is still not updated. I think we have to literally wait. By the time I think we are ending the session, this should get updated. So that's what I hope you are able to relate. It will take time. It's a near real time, right? And folks, now we have the last tool for the day, that is Access Analyzer. When I say Access Analyzer, I think quite self-explanatory, right? This says that something that will be able to analyze the access for given S3, right? So folks, now when I say I'm using the Access Analyzer, this is something that we are using basically for the findings or the resources, which helps you to analyze the resources running in your S3 account. In case, have you given it to any external entity or the public access? Have you granted public access to any external entity or cross account access or any IP addresses which is not there a part of your organization? Let's say, what in case if accidentally you have given the permission for your this S3 bucket to maybe somewhere over the internet or cross account access accidentally, if you have done that. So I can resolve these kind of findings by updating the policies to protect the resources. So for that, we have to go and utilize the Access Analyzer. Again, for example, I have taken here the use cases for different AWS accounts. Right? So to begin generating your these kind of findings, I'm going to create an analyzer for my organizational unit. Example, this is my AWS account number one. Sorry, AWS account number one. This is, let's say, for example, this is my master account or payers account. Now, here we might have different AWS accounts that are, let's say, reporting to it. Or I might have different organizational unit. Let's say this is AWS account number, let's say 2. This is one OU. This is account number 3. This is another OU. Now, in this OU, I would say this is known as, let's say, for example, a legal OU. So I would say the legal team and my, let's say, security team belongs to this OU. So I can apply the rules SCP at an OU level, which will be applicable to multiple accounts. These are said to be the member accounts, which are reporting to the masters or the pairs account. Right? So whenever you enable, let's say Access Analyzer, you are enabling at a specific OU level or at a master or a pair account level as well. This will be able to generate the detailed findings about who has access to what resources from outside the organization or for multiple AWS account or for your this OU level as well. So it will be able to deliver the detailed findings for your S3, for your specifically for S3 when we are talking about, it will be able to generate the findings and populate your that data. The way we have Access Analyzer, we have IAM Access Analyzer for IAM as well, for overall services if you want to go and have a check. Right? This is how you are able to analyze for the multiple AWS accounts. or different resources at different OU levels as well, right? Who has access to what? So you get a kind of a overview of what is happening, who has access to what. Is there any external entity who has access who technically should not have? So I can integrate that with the Lambda, CloudWatch, events, event bridge, and I can take the actions accordingly, right? So again, if I just summarize the benefits of it, it's a kind of a monitoring that we are doing across our AWS accounts, specifically for S3, which are there in different AWS accounts. And it will give you a highest level of security assurance, right? So any kind of a mathematical logic or automated reasoning, this can be a very good use case. So you'll also have an idea of, for the given permissions, for the given resource policy, who has access to what bucket. Is there any unintended access given or no, right? So that's exactly, folks, how it looks like. I'm actually now taking a pause here. It's going to be an open playground for any kind of a questions that you have. Before we get started with the quiz part as well, anyone who has any questions or any doubts so far? Any questions, any doubts so far? Okay, also, by the time I think this is getting logged, I'll quickly help you see other logs as well. Folks, this is how your access log actually looks like. This is something defined data I have. However, by the time I think I'm not sure how much time it is going to take, but this is how your access log file looks like. For example, if I'm clicking on any one of them, if I, let's say, download this data, right? I'll just quickly download this. And if I show you how the server access logs look like, just a moment, I'll quickly bring this here. This is how your access log looks like. If you quickly have a look at it, it will give you the information. Like, for example, this is for my Tech Mahindra bucket. Who is the user, right? What kind of an operation we are running? What is the API call that I'm doing? All that information along with it, it's given in this access logs. So what I can do, I can run any of the analytics tools like Kinesis or so to get this data. However, these logs are something that companies will keep, and for their quarterly or monthly audits, they're going to run the analysis of these logs to get the data on what is the security posture for the given S3 access buckets, right? Okay, we have a question how we can use Macie in the multi-account level. You can utilize it with the organizations. This part, this is what I was talking about. Organizations. This one. So same can be applied for the same as in for an organization level as well. Only the setup and the configuration for that and the permissions is something that is required, right? All right. Yes, folks, I'm taking a pause. Any questions? Any doubts? Okay, any plans for from AWS to extend the Macie? Okay, so Prasanna, I'm not very sure. Let's say if you are able to see that in the future. However, some blogs are available. Let's say if you want to go and analyze the data, I'll quickly help you get those logs. So let's say Macie with RDS is one example which I have. This is what I was talking about, folks. This blog talks about in case if I want to get the information about any sensitive data which is available in RDS. But let's say if you quickly have a look on this architecture, some or the other way, we are still populating that data to S3 only. So, like I would say, indirectly also it is using the S3 only. However, it can be done. You have to sit and architect that solution. Can we plug Macie with Glue workflow? This can be one example. Let's say if I'm having some data which is there in let's say kept in S3, I would like to perform a transformation, I can utilize the glue crawler and again import that data in another S3 bucket. Answer is yes. Again, integration and setup of that will be required. Directly, it is till now not applicable. So folks, this is for the RDS solution that I'm sharing, enabling data classification for RDS database with Macie. One example, right? So how the setup is going to work, it is available here itself, right? So you can simply have to go and search for Macie with RDS, how it works, right? Now, before folks, I am just opening up the Q&A, option for all of you to ask, a open playground for all of you to ask. I'm just going to share some very important resources for all of you to get started on understanding further in your AWS cloud journey. So again, folks, here you can have an access. In case if you don't have, you can go and sign up with AWS Skill Builder, right? It's an online learning platform where you can go and learn at your own pace. So here what happens, we have 500 plus digital courses that are available free of cost. So again, as I've stated, your free this content will help you to get started with the learning plans, and your fundamental knowledge will be like very good. Your AWS cloud quest here, it is available in this free learning content only. Official practice question set, let's say if you're preparing for any of the exam or so, so some of them, they are available free of cost. Initially they were chargeable. If you want to have a subscription based individual or team subscription, that also you can do, that will be paid basically. So many such trainings you'll be able to find from this free learning content itself, right? So just simple, only step required is you have to go and sign up for this thing, right? So you'll be able to find lots such content. So for example, if I go for the security, you will see any filters you want to give, like for example, what should be the course level, type, duration, or what is your domain. So the one which is free, you'll be able to see the free label. Okay, that's in Chinese. We have availability in different languages as well if you want, right? So you can go and have a test and look at this. So more than 500 digital trainings are available at free of cost. This is point number one. Apart from that, folks, in case I would, again, that is not something which is mandatory. I would recommend you to go and get started with your, creating a AWS free tier account. Many services, they are available for free of cost for a good number of hours. So if you're new to it, you can get started with all your practice by spinning up the resources, but ensure that you refer the documentation very well, like what are the product categories, for how many hours or resources they are available. So please go and have a check for that. And for that, for example, if you want to go and try some hands-on, so we have well architected labs that are available, right? So for this, an account is required, of course. There might be some resources that are not covered under the free tier. So let's say if you're willing to learn, and something we can pay and get the learning of it, you can get started with this. So for different, the way we have the well architected framework pillars are there, 6 pillars of excellence are there. Here also, based on different pillars, we have different labs. For example, since we are here for security, we have level 100, 200, 300 level of labs that are available, right? You can go and have a tryout here, and just again, you need a just AWS account, and steps are given. You can follow the steps and do the account setup and perform the labs here. That's point number one. Apart from that, we have AWS workshops also, folks, that are available. So anyone who is sitting, who's the working professional sitting here, we have many, more than 100 plus labs that are, sorry, workshops that are available. 200, 300, 400 level of labs that are available. All right. So whatever is your domain of an interest, just simply go and search for it. I'm not sure, Macie, we have a lab. Yep, we do have. So for example, this workshop is designed for you to get familiar with Macie. So like this, you'll be able to find lot many such content available, right? So you can go and try and test it out, folks. Environment is good. You will be able to investigate, understand, and remediate different S3 bucket inventory, how it works in conjunction with the security hub alerts, and so how it scans the bucket. However, a very good portion I've already shown to you. You can go and try and test it out, right? This all, I think this I've shown to all of you. This is how it looks like. So workshops, well architected labs are available. A skill builder is very important, right? That's what I would recommend to all of you. Free tier account is there. And in case if you have any questions, of course, feel free to, reach out. All right. So I think with that, folks, before we start with the quiz, the content wise, agenda wise, we have covered the content. I hope you all did like the session. Feel free to add on if any comments are there, any questions are there. I'll be more than happy to address. And remember, I'm not limiting you all here till the session. For any questions, any doubts, wherever I can be a help to you, you can reach out to me on my email, on LinkedIn. I'm just an email or a text away from you. Thank you so much, everyone. And over to you, Sanchit, now.
Thank you, Disha, for that wonderful session. I mean, that was spot on. I don't see anywhere from the back end that the audience were not interacting with you or they had no questions, right? There's good amount of chat which I've seen, like people talking about it. So thank you really so much for spending your time once again and helping us to understand it. As you rightly said, it's an evolving process. There are many things to learn which each day going around it. So I would really request, please stay with us. Again, you will not be allowed to participate in the quiz because you have designed the quiz. But I would request, please spend like 10 minutes with us. We'll go live with the quiz for the audience and then we'll wrap up. So just give us like 10 minutes. And for all the participants and the audience, again, I'm flashing up the link in the screen. I'm just putting the chat. Uh, as I mentioned in the last session also, if I bring up my screen quickly, as I mentioned in the last session, this is going to be like a tournament. What we'll have more for around the quiz section. So please do register it for the quiz, and we'll start the quiz like in next few minutes quickly. So I can already see there are 10 folks who are registered for it. I'll just wait for 2 more minutes and then we will start. So it's 12:04. We'll start at 12:06. Please do register for all the folks who have not been yet part of this. And yes, in meantime, if you have any questions, Disha is already here. You can put it in the chat, which may be around security, which may be around some tips on how to improve your knowledge around security, not just limiting your questions to this session. You can put it in the chat. And also, don't worry, in case if you feel like you don't have any questions, but there are certain questions which are on demand, or if you're watching the session on demand, there are questions, put it in the chat in the form of a comments in the video on the channel. We'll make sure that Disha as well as I do answer it. And also, there is a surprise that Disha will be back with us in the last session for this series. So if you have questions, obviously have more questions for her. She should feel like, okay, I'm done. I cannot answer more questions now. So that should be the case. So please have your questions ready. Disha will be us with in our last session for the series. So if you have questions or you're watching an on demand, be ready for that. A minute to go. I see that all the folks are registered. Let me just refresh it one more time. Let me send the last reminder to all the folks. Okay, I think there's an interesting question before we start with the quiz. Yes, we are continuing this quiz, this entire series till mid of April, and then we will see what exactly the next, right? And when it comes to around the agenda and other stuff, we already have this page. Uh, I'm sharing a link in the chat which will talk about the different sessions which are planned. We have done in the past couple of them, the couple of them which are going to be in upcoming weekends. So please do register on this particular page, which you will get the visibility of what are the upcoming sessions, who are the other speakers who are going to talk about in our sessions, as well as the schedules around it. As well as please do subscribe to AWS, Mumbai, LinkedIn, or our other community partners so you get understanding and notification for our upcoming sessions. With that, I think most of the people are here. So let me start with the quiz and last 2 seconds for the folks who have not registered it. Is there anyone who's just left out? If not, then I'll go ahead and I'll click for the first quiz. First question here on the screen. So here we go with our first question. Test is an automated vulnerability management service that continuously scan AWS workload for software vulnerabilities and unintended network exposure. Amazon Inspector, Amazon Macie. Dash is an automated vulnerability management service that continuously scan AWS workloads for software vulnerabilities and unintended. So we see four people who have answered rightly, and the right answer is Amazon Inspector. Let me move to the next question. Which AWS services provide the ability to detect data leaks of PII and user credentials data? AWS Shield, Amazon Macie, Amazon Guard Duty, and Amazon Inspector. We have 13 more seconds to go. Let's see how the leaderboards looks like after the question. And the right answer is Amazon Macie. I think Disha will be happy to see the right answers here. The seven participants have given the right answer. And if we talk about the leaderboard, Arvind stands at first, Prasanna is second, Sagnik at third, Rohan at fourth. Still 8 questions to go. Please, guys, buck up now. Question number 3 here on the screen. GDPR stands for what? Gross Data Protection Reserve, General Data Protection Regulations, Gross Data Protection Regulations, none of this. GDPR stands for what? Let's see who gives the right answer for this one. And happy, all give the right answer. So the GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulations. So leaderboard remains the same. Arvind at first, Prasanna is second, Saknik at third. Let me get the fourth question here. Amazon Macie cannot analyze .gzip file in Amazon S3 bucket. Answer is true or false. Amazon Macie cannot analyze .gzip files in Amazon S3 bucket. I think it should be like 10 seconds for this answer. I don't know why it has been given 20 seconds. Amazon Macie cannot analyze .gzip files in Amazon S3 bucket. Interesting. The answer is false. It can analyze .gzip files, and 56% have given the right answer. The leaderboard remains still the same. Interesting. There's no change in it. Let's move to the next question. Question number 5. Amazon Macie also includes dash of data processed for sensitive data discovery per month at no cost. Amazon Macie also includes dash of data processed for sensitive data discovery per month at no cost. And the right answer is 1 GB, which 4 participants have given. And we can see a small change here. Prasanna moved to the first position, Arvind second, and Sagnik at third. Let's move to the sixth question. Amazon S3 access control list are able to dash grant and deny access, only grant access, only deny access, or none of them. A simple one. Amazon S3 access control list are able to dash grant and deny access, only grant access, only deny access, none of this. Let's see who gives the right answer for this one. So it's only grant access. Five participants have given the right answer, and here we see a change here in the dashboard. Arvind moves to the top position, Sagnik gets second, and Prasanna is third. Ananya is fourth. Let's move to the seventh question. Which of the following information is not provided by Access Analyzer? Which of the following information is not provided by the Access Analyzer? Bucket name, access level, status, or ownership. Interesting. Which of the following information is not provided by the Access Analyzer? Let's see who gives the right answer for this. Okay. Ownership is the right answer. I can see your variance here. Three people have given the right answer. And we can see Arvind as first, Prasanna as second, Saknik as third. Kaushal has moved to the fourth position, and Ananya as fifth. Let's move to the last three questions for today's quiz. With the eighth question, how does Amazon Macie evaluates your S3 environments? Does it automatically does it or manual on custom triggers? How does Amazon Macie evaluates your S3 environments? Let's see who gives the right answer for this. How does Amazon Macie evaluate your S3 environment? And the right answer is automatically. And we can see a change in the dashboard. Prasanna moves to the seventh first position, Sagnik as second, Arvind third, and Ananya at fourth, Kaushal as fifth. Last two questions go for today's quiz. The ninth one on the screen. Macie is a dash service, regional and or global. Macie is a dash service, regional or global. And the right answer, here we go, is a regional service, not a global one. And we can see a change in the leaderboard. Again, Prasanna moves to first position, Sagnik as second, Arvind third, Ananya fourth, and Rohan has moved to the fifth position. Let's go with the last question. And the last question comes here on the screen. Which AWS security tasks are user responsibilities? Securing data with encryption, administrating identity and access management, configuring security group, all of the above. Which AWS security tasks are users' responsibility? Securing data with encryption, administrating identity and access management, configuring security groups, all of the above. A simple one to answer. Last 4 seconds to go. Let's see how the leaderboard looks like after this question. The right answer is all of the above, and everyone has given the right answer. So I don't see a big change here in the dashboard. So the leader dashboard remains the same if I exit the quiz. So it is Prasanna as first, Sagnik as second, Arvind as third, Ananya as fourth, and Rohan as fifth. So congratulations to all the winners. I would still request everyone to please join all of our future sessions. As I mentioned, this is going to be a continuous part of our series. The last session is going to be on 15th of April. So please do join all of our sessions organized on the weekend. And let's see who wins the entire this tournament. We also have a one more follow-up session tomorrow, continuing data protection on S3, how we're going to do encryption and all. Today, Disha helped us to understand how to detect the sensitive data and the controls for S3. Tomorrow, we are going to understand Amazon KMS, AWS KMS, the different options available, how you can do access, as well as there are a couple of small other topics which our audience requested, like secret managers, config, and other kinds of stuff. So we'll have next in our session tomorrow, which will be at the same time in a different URL, but at the same place, which is an AWS user group India YouTube channel. So please stay tuned and join with us tomorrow. With that, thank you so much, Disha, for joining us on the weekend and helping us with today's session. As well as thank you so much to all of our wonderful participants. This was a really interesting sessions, and thank you for asking all sorts of questions. I'm pretty sure she will be excited to join us back for another sessions with that. So that's all from my side for today's session. I think there's one request.
Sure. I am quickly checking that part only in case if that has been completed. And before wrapping up, we can just have a look at that. Just a moment. Okay, server access, folks, it is still logging. However, our Macie job has been completed, and I think that we have seen that as well. So, yeah, any kind of a job like server access logging also that will absolutely take expected time is always depends on the data as well, and we can expect like this to get updated in another 15 to 20 minutes of a time. However, the data, how it looks like for the server access that I've shown to you. So I think next time when we are joining in, absolutely we'll be able to see a lot of content there. So that time I think I'm going to park this and get back on this for the next session. Hope that helps.
Awesome. Sure.
Perfect. Okay. I think you're on the mute, Sanjit.
Sorry. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I'm saying again, as I mentioned, Disha is going to be back with us for the last session for the series, which is going to be 3 weeks from now. So obviously, 3 weeks is sufficient for the analyzer to get complete. So no worries.
Absolutely.
She'll bring
Sure.
a screenshot and she'll walk us through again in that session. So I'll keep that interesting session to be pending for us. With that, thank you so much. And again, guys, if you are watching this session on demand, don't worry. You can ask the question in the chat of this entire recording, which is there on the channel. So please do ask the questions, and we'll make sure that speaker as well as an organizers, we will answer all of the questions. So that's all from today. Thank you so much for tuning in for the session. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjit. Thank you so much, folks. Have a great day.